You're listening to College Finances 101, brought to you by EDULaunchpad.com. My name is Scott Anderson. I'm president and founder of EDU Launchpad, and I will be your host through this presentation. Our agenda is, first of all, just a brief note about what is EDU Launchpad. Then we'll take a look at the college funding environment and what you'll be getting yourself into. The financial aid process. I don't think that any discussion of college finances is complete without talking about the financial aid process. Next, we'll look at the college financial track records, and these are absolutely critical. There's probably nothing else within the information you can gather on colleges which will give you as much indication of what you're going to be paying for college like the college financial track records will. Then we're going to look at some tips, strategies, and tactics that you can employ to minimize your costs for college, and finally we'll conclude the presentation. Anticipate that this is going to take you about 50 to 60 minutes. What is EDU Launchpad? Back in 2001, I started College Financial Strategies. College Financial Strategies was a professional college financial advising service that primarily worked with families of students that were already in high school getting ready to head off to college. In other words, college is on your doorstep. Over the past decade, we have become recognized as a leading authority by numerous press outlets as someone that you can trust to get the right information for your college financial situation. In 2010, CF Strategies became EDULaunchpad.com. We have taken the last 10, 12 years of experience that I have built up, and we have automated it, put it up here on the web so that you have the tools that you need in order to minimize your students' costs as much as possible. Now, there are 4 places where you're really going to have an opportunity for saving money on college. Number 1 is lowering your expected family contribution, or EFC. When you fill out a FAFSA form, free application for federal student aid, what they're trying to determine is what is going to be your EFC. That is your baseline. If you can lower your baseline, you'll have much better opportunities for saving money. Next, identify and apply to colleges with the most generous track records. Mentioned a little bit about this just a minute ago. Not all schools treat the financial aid process the same. Some schools are far more generous than others. And if you can identify those schools which have the most generous financial track records, you're going to come out far ahead in this process. Third, position your student best for the opportunities. You know, it's just like when you go to buy a car. GM makes Chevrolets and GM makes Cadillac. And the reason that they do that is that they are targeting different markets. You need to know what kind of markets the colleges that your student is applying to are targeting, and then know how to position your student within those target markets as best as possible to get the best opportunities for the money. And finally, know how to negotiate. And we'll describe that later on. Why is it so ridiculously expensive to send your student to college these days? Well, here's a few of the reasons why. First of all, less aid from government sources. You know, we've seen that the states have big budget shortfalls, and if the colleges can't go get the money from the states, they're going to come get it from you. Next, teacher salaries are going up. Everybody assumes that as they progress in their chosen field or profession, that they're going to get some kind of a raise down the road. Cost of maintenance, upkeep, repairs, new infrastructure. If there is one thing that every college campus has in common, is that they are constantly building something. Changes in technology. This is a good thing. You want your student learning on the latest technology available. Consumers are demanding more. You know, it used to be if you had one bathroom for every dorm floor, that was fine. Now we want one bathroom for every other dorm room. It used to be that Pete, Joe, Bob, and Bill riding around on the golf carts during the day was okay for campus security. Now we want 24/7 campus police forces. And also, we have to consider that there are more dollars chasing a limited supply. The federal government in particular has been pouring money into the college system. They want to help students get through college as much as possible. That has an unfortunate and unintended side effect. You have more dollars chasing a limited supply of college education, And when it comes down to just basic economics, when you have more dollars chasing any limited supply, it drives the price up. Now, all of these factors are increasing the price of education by about 4 to 5% each year, and that's almost double the standard inflation rate. Now, it's going to be expensive no matter where you send your kids to college these days. If you look at this bar graph here, on the right-hand side is the average cost of attendance for a public four-year university in state last year at $19,388. A private college is $39,028 per year. Now, this is cost of attendance. This is not just tuition, and this is not just tuition, room, and board. This cost of attendance includes tuition, room and board, books, fees, living expenses, transportation costs. This is a holistic number that is computed to determine what can a student expect to pay for a one-year experience at that school in total. Now, this number is important because when they figure out what your expected family contribution is, they're going to back it out of this number to figure out what your need is, and consequently what you may have opportunities for monies that could be available to your student through the financial aid process. Now, 4 years can cost as much as $50,000 to $200,000 or more, and when you start multiplying these numbers by the number of children you're sending off to college, these numbers get staggering very quickly. So how is a family supposed to pay for all that? Well, the first place you're told you're going to pay for it is you're going to pay for it out of your savings. So I'm certain that everybody that is watching this right now, you went down to the bank when your child was first born, you opened up a special savings account, and for the past 17, 18 years, you've been putting away $50 a week into that account. Now, because the bank had a really special deal when the week that you opened that up, you've had one heck of an interest rate on that money, and you're now sitting on $300,000 in cash, and while you're watching this, I have no idea. But that's not what the average American family does. The average American family, by the time their first child is ready to go to college, no matter how many children they are sending to college, they have saved a total of $14,000 to send all of their kids to college. $14,000, as we just saw, will not pay for 1 year's cost of attendance at the average state college. So savings, that's not where you can expect to really be paying for it. The next place you're told you're going to pay for it is you're going to borrow the money. And borrowing goes something along this line. Your daughter comes to you and says, "Hey, Dad, I've got everything taken care of, but $10,000, can you help me out with $10,000? So you go down to the bank, you take out a loan for $10,000, you pick up a $100 hit to your monthly cash flow, and she's out the door and off to college. Next year rolls around, it's the same type of situation. She needs another $10,000, another $100 hit to your monthly cash flow, now you're up to $200 a month, she's out the door and off to college again. Third year rolls around. She needs another $10,000, another $100 hit to your monthly cash flow, to $300 a month. Now your son needs to go to college. He needs $10,000, another $100 hit. You're up to $400 a month in money going out to service these loans, and you don't have one student through college yet. What I tell you about borrowing money for college, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. And in our college financing webinar, where we talk a lot about how you can borrow money for college, we get into the very nitty-gritty details of what are the really smart ways for borrowing money. Scholarships. Boy, most everybody who watches this is going to be expecting to hear a lot of information about scholarships. Well, here's a quick little nugget for you before we get into that later on. Scholarships only make up about 2% of the money which is available to help send your kids to college these days, and I really doubt that too many of you out there are going to be sending your kids to college on just 2% of the money. What I'd recommend that you do, figure out the 98% of the money. Go to a lesser school. This by far is the most common solution to this problem. And it goes along this line. Your son comes to you and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri." And you're thinking, wow, that is showing some initiative. That's a fantastic school. It's got a great reputation. What's it going to cost? And he tells you, "Dad, it's only going to cost $52,000 a year. You get your checkbook and I'll pack my bags." And your immediate reaction is, wait a minute, what's your second choice? So he kind of hem-haws around. He thinks second choice. University of Michigan. Okay, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, great school. We'll assume it's out of state. What will University of Michigan cost? $48,000 a year. What's your third choice? And you keep working your way down through the list until you arrive at a sticker price that you think you can all agree upon. Well, what I tell you is that is a terrible way to choose a school, and it is a way that you do not have to choose a school, and I'll show you why that is so as we work through this presentation. Finally, not go at all, the number one reason I absolutely love my job is I get to show folks every day that this is not a legitimate answer to this problem. If there is a will, there is a way to get students into college, through college, and not leave them under a mountain of debt. Let's talk some about the myths of the financial aid system. Number one myth out there, my income is too high. Many people think that if they make more than $50,000 a year, that the financial aid process is not for them. That could not be the furthest thing from the truth. I actually had one time when I was sitting down early on, now this was probably back in about 2003, gentleman I sat down with made $200,000 a year. And I figured there's no way this guy's going to qualify for anything in any kind of financial aid. But, as I always do, I went ahead, did an estimate to give him an idea of where he did fall. To my surprise, he was going to qualify, or more accurately, his daughter was going to qualify for about $5,000 in need-based financial aid. Need-based. Now, I would hazard to guess that there's probably not a person that is watching this presentation right now that would figure that you could make $200,000 a year and qualify for need-based financial aid. I didn't, but that was what his situation was. Now, I'm not going to tell you that everybody that makes $200,000 a year is going to qualify for need-based financial aid, but I bring up that example to kind of highlight to you that what you think you know about how income works within this process and how the process actually works are two different things. Next myth, grades are too low. You know, grades are important, but grades are not everything. You can have an average A student, average B student, average C student, even an average D student, and depending upon a whole host of other factors, there can be money available there to help send your kid through college. Own a home. It used to be if you owned a home or had equity in a home, you were not going to qualify for any kind of financial aid. That is not true anymore. In fact, the FAFSA form, which is the overwhelming standard out there, does not even count equity in your primary residence as an asset. Taxes have to be done. This myth, probably more than any of the others up here on this screen, has cost families more money than anything else. You take a look at these financial forms that have to be filled out for the colleges, and you figure there's no way that I can get these done without having my taxes completed first. Don't fall for that. These financial forms are designed to be done with estimates. Get these forms done as early in the year as possible. Gather up whatever financial information you can. Get your last year's tax information. Estimate what you think the numbers are going to look like, and get these numbers down and get these forms submitted, because the dates that are critical for having these financial aid forms done come well before the time that your taxes are going to be done. Aid is only for special groups. Everybody's heard of some kind of program out there where to qualify for it, you have to be left-handed, or you have to be from a particular country, or you have to, I don't know, have red hair. Well, you know, even if there are those kinds of programs out there, they fall into that little 2% of the money that I mentioned a little bit ago in the scholarships. Don't be concerned about that at all. The vast majority of the money that is available out there for financial aid is open to everyone, regardless of being in some kind of a special group. It's an easy process? Not so. This is a real devil in the details process. The Department of Education a couple of years ago commissioned 2 Harvard economists to do a thorough study of the financial aid process. And one of the most surprising things to the Department of Education, I think the colleges and high schools, that those 2 Harvard economists found out was that the FAFSA form takes 10 times longer to complete than what the colleges and the high schools have been telling students it took to complete for years. This is not an easy process. This is a process that you want to do your homework on. You want to get familiar with this as quickly as possible to make certain that it gets done right.